Hey everyone, my name is Rachel, and today I want to talk a little bit about a story that has kind of been in the news recently about the guy who published the Bible book Gaia. If you haven't heard of this, it's a book that was published on, I think it's just the Amazon US store from what I've seen, but basically he rewrote the Bible and he kept in a lot of the pretty horrific stuff that's in there and just, changed a few bits up, added his own bits in there. He basically he was mocking the Bible. He made it literally gayer and put a lot of gay stuff in there, I guess you could say. This feels really weird to say and talk about. Yeah, and it caused a bit of a fuss because some people were saying like, oh, this is hilarious, this is great, it's a great kind of parody, it's a great bit of comedy, it's even great kind of like commentary on what's in the Bible and some of the horrific stuff that's in there. But then you had other people on the other side saying, this is terrible, this is blasphemous, this is really rude and it's awful. It's like, oh, if they'd done this to the Quran, then people would be madder. And today I want to talk less about kind of like the content of that actual book and just kind of open up a discussion with you guys about this idea of like, is it ever okay to mess with a religion's like holy book? Now personally, I kind of like, I think it's fine because it's a book and any book can be parodied or changed or I don't know, I personally don't see an issue with it, but I think that's only because I don't have anything that's kind of like that special to me. Like I was trying to think of examples yesterday of like what would happen if someone did this to like a book that I kind of treasured or looked up to or kind of like held as kind of sacred, I guess. And I was thinking how like, how a lot of people are like, oh well, you guys, you worship Dawkins and Hitchens and me. I'm like, well, we don't. But I was thinking, like, what would happen if you got a Christian and they came and they took a book by Richard Dawkins and they rewrote it to make it, like, I don't know, fit their personal agenda and to make a mockery out of it and to, make a joke out of it, basically. And I honestly wouldn't have an issue with that because it's a joke and it's fine. And then again, you could say that like, oh, well, what about the people who, take a science textbook and rewrite it to fit their creation agenda? And I'd say I have an issue with that because they're twisting facts and trying to pass off blatant lies as truth. It's not for the purposes of parody or comedy or for enjoyment. It's because they're trying to force people to believe in their thing as though it's fact. I feel like I'm rambling a bit in this video because I don't really have a script. I just kind of want to get on camera and share some of my thoughts and pose a few questions to you guys, so I hope this isn't too bad. Yeah, the other thing I was thinking of would be like, what if someone did do this to the Quran? I personally wouldn't have an issue with it, but is the Quran somehow more protected than the Bible? Is it somehow more important than the Bible? No, I don't think so. I think they're both just stories, and I think it's fine to parody either of them. On the other hand, I was thinking, like, what if someone did this to something more serious, like, Mein Kampf or whatever? And again, I wouldn't have an issue with it if it was for the purposes of, like, comedy and parody and, to highlight the absurdities in a text. I don't have an issue with that. But again, I'd like to pass it on to you guys and see what you think. Some people are getting mad as well because I think at first Amazon, they allowed this book on sale and then they removed it and then they added it back again. There's a whole debate about like, whether this stuff should be allowed on sale on Amazon, and I personally don't see why not. I know there's a lot of kind of issues around this, and there's the ideas of like censorship and is it censorship if they take this off Amazon, and is it kind of like pushing the Christian agenda if they remove it, or is it limiting free speech if they remove it? Whereas if they allow it and allow it to sell, is it kind of hate speech or hate text? I know there's a lot of issues here and a lot of questions, and if you don't know much about the background of this story, I'll leave some links and some videos and stuff below for you to go read and watch and find out a little bit more about it. But mostly I just want to kind of talk about it in this video to kind of maybe put my view across a little bit and get your opinions too, and hopefully kind of start a little bit of a discussion about this. Like honestly, I've not read this book, so I can't kind of comment on the specifics, but I think the idea of it doesn't bother me, just as the idea of taking any other text doesn't bother me. I mean, imagine someone took something that was a little bit more serious and something that was a little bit more kind of, I guess you could say kind of like special. Think about like, you know, Anne Frank's Diary of a Young Girl. That's a pretty kind of like special book, and I mean, I wouldn't say it's like sacred in the way that some people say holy texts are, but I think maybe on the one hand to parody that might be a little bit insensitive, but again, I don't think I'd argue against it being published. But I don't know, in that case it's more like someone's personal kind of like pain and experiences of being exploited for comedy. But I don't know, does comedy have like a limit? Does it have a line? Does it have a place where it shouldn't cross? And at what point does religion or personal experiences or politics come into that? I don't know, I'd like to pass it on to you. Yeah, I'm gonna end this here because I'm rabbiting, and I just kind of wanted to pose this question out there and maybe like raise a little bit of awareness about this if it wasn't already raised. Rambling again. Anyway, please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd really love to hear them. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll see you again soon.